Coming up today, Korea's presidential office has selected Justice Minister Hwang Kyo-ahn to become the new Prime Minister, seeing him as the right person to root out corruption and carry out political reform. The United Nations will soon take up the issue of North Korea's claim that it test-fired a submarine-launched ballistic missile after a handful of countries filed a complaint with the Security Council. Plus, former and current world leaders stress the need for trust and cooperation among countries in Northeast Asia at an annual peace forum on Korea's southern island of Jeju. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello to our viewers around the world. It's 6 a.m. on Friday, May 22nd here in Seoul. Thanks, as always, for joining us. I'm Mark Broome. And we start off with the president's pick for Korea's new prime minister, her sixth choice for the job since taking office. The nominee is Justice Minister Hwang Kyo-ahn. Park Geun-Hye has more on his credentials and the responses from the main rival parties.
The presidential office of Cheongwade said Hwang Kyo-ahn is the right person to lead its political reform and anti-corruption agenda. Senior presidential press secretary Kim Sang-woo said Hwang has a deep understanding of President Park's state affairs, and his quiet yet firm work ethic is considered appropriate for the job. The 58-year-old former chief prosecutor was appointed Minister of Justice in March 2013. Shortly after the Park Geun-Hye administration took office. Over the last 2 years, political watchers say he has demonstrated good communication with the presidential office and implemented Park administration's policy directions. In a press conference following the announcement, the Justice Minister said he felt a deep sense of responsibility.
If I am given the opportunity to serve as the Prime Minister, I will make every effort to help the nation overcome current difficulties and make a leap forward. More than anything, I will focus on revitalizing the economy and stabilizing the people's livelihoods in order to rehabilitate the country.
The ruling Saenuri Party welcomed the nomination.
We expect Hwang to carry out political reforms and eradicate corruption based on rule of law. As Hwang has President Park's full confidence, and people's expectations are high. We hope he'll make the utmost effort to carry out his heavy responsibilities.
The main opposition New Politics Alliance for Democracy offered some harsh criticism.
The nomination is unacceptable. Korea needs a prime minister who can integrate this nation, fragmented by President Park's failure to embrace opposing voices. Hwang is not a qualified nominee. He can't solve the problems that have piled up to create an economic crisis.
Both parties now vow to examine Hwang's fitness to be prime minister at an upcoming confirmation hearing. The nation's number 2 post has been empty for nearly a month after former Prime Minister Lee Wan-gu resigned over recent high-profile bribery allegations. Park Ji-won, Arirang News.
President Park Geun-hye met with the top foreign diplomats of Mexico, Indonesia, Turkey and Australia at the presidential office on Thursday ahead of a foreign ministerial meeting. She received the diplomats on the eve of the meeting of the so-called MIKTA group, formed by the 5 Middle Power countries, including South Korea, in 2013, to expand their influence on the global stage. During the meeting, President Park asked the diplomats for a continued interest and cooperation to help address the issue of North Korea's nuclear weapons programs, also among other global issues as well. She said she hoped that the MIKTA group, which shares core values of democracy and free market economy, will bring tangible results during the meeting, scheduled to take place in Seoul this Friday, chaired by Korea's Foreign Minister Yoon Byung-se. A United Nations committee will soon take up the issue of North Korea's claim that it test-fired a ballistic missile from a submarine. The South Korean government said on Thursday that it sent a letter to the North Korea Sanctions Committee under the UN Security Council, requesting a formal investigation into Pyongyang's self-proclaimed missile launch and whether it violates UN resolutions. Similar requests were also submitted by the United States and Japan. Accordingly, the committee will launch a panel to investigate, and the findings will be reported to the Security Council. Early this month, the North said it had conducted a successful test of a submarine-launched ballistic missile, but there have been numerous reports ever since suggesting the test was fake. The defense ministers of South Korea and Japan are expected to sit down for their first one-on-one talks in 4 years next week. Na Hyung-kyung tells us more.
Korean Defense Minister Han Min-gu and his Japanese counterpart Gen Nakatani will most likely meet on May 30th during the 14th Asia Security Summit in Singapore, more commonly known as the Shangri-La Defense Dialogue.
The two will discuss ways to deter North Korea's nuclear and missile threats, issues related to the recent revision of the U.S.-Japan Defense Guideline, and how to better cooperate on the military front overall.
The revision to the defense guideline was signed by Washington and Tokyo last month, which opened up the possibility for Tokyo to support the U.S. military in case of war in Korea.
Korea has been very careful for Japanese military or self-defense forces coming to Korea or Korean peninsula for almost any reason. So that there are many issues to talk about between the two countries.
Those topics include detailing when and under what circumstances Seoul will permit aid from Tokyo's military, and also whether or to what extent the two countries will share military information. However, some experts insist the Shinzo Abe cabinet should first show sincerity in mending Seoul-Tokyo ties, which have been strained by Japan's repeated territorial claims to Korea's easternmost Dokdo Island and the issue of Japan's wartime atrocities. Given these tensions, the defense meeting comes at a very critical time, but whether they will achieve a breakthrough remains to be seen. Na Hyun-kyung, Arirang News.
Korea and Japan will try to resolve their current row over Tokyo's bid to enlist its wartime industrial facilities as UNESCO World Heritage Sites. The bilateral meeting, to be held in Tokyo this Friday afternoon at the request of Korea, will be led by Seoul's Ambassador for Cultural and UNESCO Affairs, Chae Jong-moon, and Tokyo's Director General for Cultural Affairs at the Foreign Affairs Ministry, Jun Shin-mi. Now, this is the first such meeting since Korea voiced objection to Tokyo's push to acknowledge the facilities where many Koreans were held captive and forced to work as these prestigious UNESCO heritage sites. The Korean government plans to explain its concerns while urging Japan to reflect on the historical facts of forced labor during its colonial rule. Japan has logged a complaint against Korea at the World Trade Organization over Korea's import bans and additional testing regulations on Japanese food. Tokyo's Fisheries Ministry says that Seoul's current requirements violate the WTO's sanitary agreement. Korea put this ban in place after the 2011 Fukushima nuclear disaster. The two countries will now hold talks at the WTO, but if they fail to resolve the dispute within 60 days, Japan can ask an arbiter to rule on the case. The Jeju Forum for Peace and Prosperity is underway on Korea's southern resort island of Jeju. The theme of this year's event is Towards a New Asia of Trust and Harmony. Hwang Sang-hee reports.
With the region mired in historical and territorial disputes, the key mission at this year's Jeju Forum is promoting peace and common prosperity in East Asia. Former German Chancellor Gerhard Schroeder, in his keynote speech on Thursday, described the foundation necessary for building trust and harmony in the region.
The tasks we are facing require a strong and effective multilateral system. I'm absolutely certain that intense regional cooperation between neighboring states is an important precondition for peace, development, and prosperity.
In a video message, UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon called for more dialogue between Korea, Japan, and China, saying that trust and cooperation will bring about change in Asia. The forum's organizing committee hopes 4,000 participants from around the world will exchange ideas at the event.
I firmly believe that the 10th Jeju Forum will become a reservoir of intellectual discourses on peace, an incubator of practical ideas to enhance peace and important actor for peace. Through these efforts, Jeju seeks to serve as a platform for global peace.
With over 50 sessions on topics ranging from security issues to climate change, the forum runs through Friday. The organizers of the forum say that the event could turn the small island of Jeju into a powerful transmission point for messages of peace in East Asia. Hwang Kyo-ahn, Arirang News, Jeju.
Now, Korea's so-called Eureka Day is currently in full swing in Seoul. The three-day event, which wraps up on this Friday, invites representatives from hundreds of small and mid-sized Korean companies to help them forge partnerships with similar-sized firms in Europe. Park Geun-Hye reports.
Making connections. Representatives from more than 20 countries, mainly from Europe, have come together to exchange their tech knowledge and seek new partnerships, mainly with Korean SMEs. Founded in Europe in 1985, the Eureka organization aimed to raise the productivity and competitiveness of European businesses through technology and is especially dedicated to supporting R&D performance in SMEs. For those companies, the event's matchmaking sessions are a big draw.
All of these business people are holding face-to-face talks in the hope of finding their ideal partner and finding their chance to shout Eureka.
K&R Systems, a local firm, specializes in hydraulic components, robots, and bio-devices. Its second match of the day was a Turkish robotics maker. Given their shared expertise, there were high hopes for the meeting.
These events, especially Eureka events, are successful for us, and I think we will be a good partnership for the Korean companies about the R&D projects, and maybe later we have a good relations about our familiar products.
Robotel is an engineering company, so they are finding a leader of a Eureka project. But K&R is a novice. We are also the first time to join the Eureka. So there are something remain to find the applications, the topic. So we discussed lots of things about how to do or find topics all together, and we introduced lots of things in technical issues. So we share lots of things. Yeah. We have many times to do, many things to do. Yeah.
Successful matches like this are one of the reasons that Korea's Eureka membership has been extended till 2018. As a result, Korea will be part of the organization's 2020 roadmap to foster economic growth, competitiveness, and job creation. Kwon-soa, Arirang News.
Now, looking to make the world more aware of the pain and suffering Japan inflicted on women in the years before and during World War II, Arirang TV invited roughly a dozen journalists from 11 countries to visit the so-called House of Sharing just south of Seoul on Thursday. Now, this residence was built for the Korean survivors of Japan's systematic program of wartime sexual slavery. Kim Hyun-bin reports.
한달에 군인은 40명 내지 50명 접근하는 거예요. 여러분 보시오. 한달에 우리 시간이 몇 시간 있는가? 한달에 시간이 24시간인데 40명, 50명 어떻게 접근합니까? 다 죽고 말지.
Lee Ok-sun was kidnapped by the Japanese when she was just 15 years old. Not long afterward, she was sent to China to serve as a comfort woman for the Japanese Imperial Army in July of 1942. Lee, who is now 89, is one of an estimated 200,000 comfort women from Korea and elsewhere who were forced into sexual slavery by the Japanese military before and during World War II.
There are only 53 comfort women still alive here in Korea, waiting to hear a sincere apology from the Japanese government.
Korea continues to demand a clear apology from Japan for its complicity in the sexual slavery issue, but Tokyo has so far refused. In an effort to raise awareness about the comfort woman issue around the world, Arirang TV has invited 11 journalists from as many countries to Korea this week to learn about the issue firsthand and hopefully share their experiences back in their home countries.
Japan should be teaching this history in its schools and textbooks. I believe that Japan should build a monument to the memory of the so-called comfort women and the suffering of sex slaves around the world on the grounds of the Imperial Palace in Tokyo. And it's only by stepping forward in meaningful ways that feel personal and emotional and heartfelt that Japan can begin to take additional steps to put this very painful history to rest.
The former comfort women in Korea say they will do everything possible to get Tokyo to deliver a sincere apology, and they urge Koreans to carry on the baton after they are gone.
상기도 이제 않는 해방된 데가 몇 해가 된 몇십 년이 됐는가 하는 거지. 이렇게 할머니들 다 죽지를 기다리는데 안 된다. 죽어도 이 문제를 꼭 해명해야 되죠.
김현빈, Arirang News.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has pledged that his country will take all necessary action to help Iraq fight the Islamic State group. Putin made the remark during talks on Thursday with Iraqi Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi at the Kremlin. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said before those talks that Moscow will send weapons to Iraq to help it combat IS militants who have won even more ground in Iraq and Syria over the past week alone. Lavrov wouldn't be drawn on what weapons Moscow will be sending to Iraq, but said Islamic State was Russia's main enemy at the moment. Well, that's all we have for now. I'm Mark Broome. Have a wonderful weekend and thank you, as always, for watching. And we do hope to see you at the same time on Monday. Goodbye.